Hello, hello. Welcome back. I'm Lori Eberly, and I am feeling adrenaline coursing through my body right now. And so you may witness a lot of gesticulating and a very loud voice, but I can tell you that it is because I am witnessing some serious truth dropping and accountability and naming the elephant in the room out on LinkedIn. And for those of you who don't use LinkedIn, this won't matter. But for those of you who do, you know that it has been a rather boring Rolodex kind of safe, these are my thought leaders kind of a platform. And in light of recent events, there is a lot of accountability and teaching around white supremacy, racism, and anti-racism, and what it is to really show up and be not just an ally, but an accomplice or a co-conspirator, and then also what it means to be a performative activist, what it means to virtue signal, what it means to say the right thing and not show your receipts. So let's see if I can talk just a little bit about that. What has me so excitable right now is because I've been witnessing some really clear examples of what it is when white allies miss the mark and center ourselves, okay? And so if you're new to this anti-racist work, I want you to Google white fragility, white guilt, the white gaze, and centering whiteness, along with de-centering whiteness. Okay? There's a lot out there and folks that are way more articulate about talking about this than me, but I'm going to share a little of what I know, and then you go do the work and learn more about those things too. So centering whiteness means that I make any conversation about race about me. Even if I have good intentions, even if I have good values, I'm trying to do the right thing. When I enter into a conversation about race and I with outside of a safe white affinity group, okay? When I am, say, at work or with the soccer moms or at the PTA or with my friends, if there are folks of color, Black and Indigenous people of color present, that when I'm called in on how my racism is showing up or hanging out, that instead of being able to hear that I turn the conversation to be all about my feelings and my intentions and my experience. Now, this is why, as white people trying to unlearn this, it's often useful to do it in white spaces because we haven't learned how to not center ourselves. Does that make sense? And if you're a white person watching this right now and you're experiencing a lot of feelings, be they guilt or sadness or anger or rage or wishing you would have stepped forward earlier, any of that stuff, totally allowed to have your feelings. We just don't want any people of color to have the emotional labor to hold those feelings for us, okay? Unless we are paying them to do that and they are entering that contract and that transaction intentionally. Sorry, just a minute. So what happened on LinkedIn today is a very prominent white tech business leader who has proclaimed himself a white ally, posted a video about how during a pandemic to show up and have some more grace and compassion with employees. That's cool. Well done. We need to be showing up with additional grace and compassion for our employees. The way whiteness centering shows up, though, is that in the multiple comment section of, "We love you, Ryan. You're so awesome. Your leadership, Ryan. Thanks for this. Wow, I learned so much from you, Ryan." That's great. It's so great for all the work that he's doing. But this is what you do when you are truly a white ally and you are trying not to center yourself. That the 15 or 20 times that he just said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, what that does is it says, oh, thank you for the praise, and you just take it and you keep it. As we are learning to be better white allies and accomplices, may I challenge every one of us and hold me accountable to this too. That when anybody says, Lori, thank you for what you're teaching me, it is my job to say, I am happy to learn with you, and please go follow these Black leaders. Please go read these Black authors. Okay? This cannot be about me, or it just becomes virtue signaling. It becomes, Lori has a new platform to talk about anti-racism, and that will draw her attention in business. This is not about Lori, and this is not about Ryan. And right now on LinkedIn is this serious throwdown where he is being called in around using Black and Indigenous people of color as a prop. And while he's done good work in the community and making tech more accessible, the danger is when we allow our equity and our social justice to become more about us than the actual community we're purporting to serve. Does that make sense? Here's a very personal example. In the video I recorded yesterday, which is called Anti-Racist Leadership Welcome, and I talked about how I've been trying to cultivate more relationships, business relationships, because I'm talking off the cuff. My explanation for why I'm doing that was because I believe RADIUS, my business, is stronger and more successful when I have Black and Indigenous people of color and other marginalized groups working with and collaborating with RADIUS. That's not untrue. I do believe that. But when I went back and saw that video, it comes across as if the only reason I value having an inclusive network is because of what it does for RADIUS. If that was the only reason that it mattered to me, that's a problem. So while I was tempted to delete that, I left it because I think it's really important that when white folks make mistakes, and we will make them all the time, that instead of deleting them, we own them and we learn from them. Because hopefully my learning and my stupidity and my failure to speak to the fact that not only will RADIUS be better served and my clients be better served if there are multiple diverse perspectives serving clients, but my community will be better, and our schools will be better, and our country will be better. And this has absolutely nothing to do with me or my business or any direct advantage to me. I believe in my heart that the world is only healed through all of us working collectively together. And that the only way that I can do that is if I learn through repetition, that I learned from my mistakes and failures, how to continue to amplify the voices of people who do not look like me or sound like me, right? Continually do that. And not because it makes me look good, but because it is the only choice if I believe in social justice and equity and shared power and belonging. Okay? So you are now going to look up the words I said before, right? You're going to look up centering whiteness. You're going to look up decentering whiteness. You're going to look up white privilege. You're going to look up white fragility. And you're going to look up white guilt. And y'all, that is the work for like the next week. I don't know when I'll post another one of these things, but I really invite you to get a journal, pen and paper, because our brain processes information differently when we're writing about it versus when we're just typing about it. And I want you to really get multiple perspectives on what does it mean to center whiteness, okay? And make sure you're reading men and women and professionals and writers and experts in anti-racism, right? Like, look at where you're getting your information And if you find some really excellent articles or videos or books or teachers, please share them in the comments below so that we can learn together. Thank you so much for showing up here. I will continue to do so, again, not because I'm an expert, but because I will make mistakes and I will do my best to own them, and I cannot ask you to do the same unless I'm holding myself accountable, and that's what this looks like. Be well, keep doing the work, take ownership when you screw it up.